You know, you wouldn't think a classic cartoon could teach you much about saving money, but it turns out a ninja can. Today, we're going to unpack a classic Ninja Hattori episode that, believe it or not, has this amazing lesson in financial literacy hidden right inside. Let's get into it.
Okay, so it all kicks off with something we've all done. Trying to impress someone. Kenichi doesn't just invite his friend Yumiko to a movie. Oh no, he promises the works, tickets, popcorn, juice, the whole shebang. And that one single generous promise, that's the spark that just ignites his entire financial problem.
And that, of course, brings us straight to Kenichi's big money problem. It's a classic situation, right? Big dreams, not so big wallet.
So, what's he actually got to work with? He proudly says he's got 100 rupees. Now, for a kid, that sounds pretty good, right? But, and here's the kicker, Yumiko immediately points out that a single movie ticket costs 100 rupees. Uh-oh. This is where the trouble really starts.
And this right here, this is the heart of the problem. It's so clear when you see it laid out. In one corner, you've got the reality, just 100 rupees. And in the other corner, you have the weight of his promise. We're talking 2 tickets, popcorn, and juice. The scales are they're not even close to balanced. The math just doesn't work.
So yeah, Kenichi is in a real bind. But luckily for him, his best friend just happens to be a ninja. And Hattori steps in with a little bit of that timeless financial wisdom.
So Hattori introduces this super simple but honestly incredibly powerful concept. In Hindi, it's called bachat, or as we know it, savings. His whole point is, instead of just spending on impulse, you take that money and you set it aside for your big goal. I mean, how cool is that? It's a fundamental principle of personal finance being taught by a cartoon ninja.
And the way Hattori breaks it down is brilliant. It's a simple 3-step plan. First, you got to identify the temptation. That snack you really want. Second, and this is the hard part, you have to actively resist the urge to buy it. And then step 3, the best part, you take that money you didn't spend and you feed the piggy bank. Ding, ding, ding. So satisfying.
I mean, it sounds super easy when you see it on a slide like this, right? But let's be real. Anyone who's ever tried to stick to a budget knows that having a plan is one thing, but actually following through when you're staring a delicious temptation in the face, that's a whole different ballgame.
Which, of course, leads us right into the real-world test. This is where the rubber meets the road. Kenichi's plan is about to face reality, and his willpower is going to be tested big time. And you know what? At first, he's a total rock star. He smells these amazing roasted sweet potatoes, a classic street food snack, super tempting. He starts to reach for his money, but then Hattori reminds him about the movie. And boom, he resists. He passes his first test with flying colors. Check. But the pressure starts to build. You can feel it. As Hattori keeps stepping in to stop him from spending, Kenichi just gets more and more frustrated, and he finally snaps, yelling, "Stay out of my business!" This is that feeling, right? That internal fight we all have when we know we should be saving, but that little voice telling us to spend is just screaming in our ear. And then comes the final boss, social pressure. This is a huge, huge concept in personal finance. We even have a name for it, social spending. Kenichi's out with Yumiko, she casually says she's thirsty, and just like that, his need to impress her completely demolishes his financial goal. That one small decision, it just opens the floodgates. And just look at how fast it all falls apart. It starts with just one juice. Okay, no big deal. But then it's a roll, and then ice cream, and then a hot dog. Each purchase feels so small in the moment, doesn't it? But you add them all up, and these little savings killers, they completely wipe out his movie fund. Gone. So, what's the lesson here? I mean, what can we really learn from Kenichi's, let's face it, epic fail? The story isn't really about the 100 rupees he lost. The end of the episode actually pivots, and it gives us a much deeper, way more important takeaway.
So later on, Kenichi and Yumiko are in a marathon together. They don't win. Actually, they come in dead last. But Yumiko isn't upset at all. She says this, and it just changes everything. The real prize wasn't about winning the race. It was about the experience of running it together.
Wow, that really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? The episode is so clever because it's asking us to think about what we're really saving for. Is the goal just to, spend money on stuff, like a movie and popcorn? Or is it about creating these meaningful, shared experiences, which a lot of the time don't really cost much at all?
Okay, so let's wrap this up and break down the big lessons we can take from Kenichi. Lesson 1, you gotta name your goal.
For him, it was the movie ticket. Having that clear target is so important. Lesson 2, you have to know your temptations. And not just the easy ones, like the sweet potatoes he could resist, but the hard ones, like the social pressure he couldn't. And lesson 3, the big one, remember that the real goal isn't always about the spending. It's about the shared experience.
And that brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. When you think about Kenichi's journey, it's a really good time to ask ourselves, what's our piggy bank for? What's that big goal we're saving up for? And maybe even more importantly, what are our personal savings killers that are trying to get in the way?